Hello, I'm Jim from Come Play With Us, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing Colony Bloodbath. This is the new game from the creator of Dominion. This plays 1 to 5 players in 45 minutes or under. And this one's really interesting because it's a cooperative deck builder, and I've not heard of that before. Now deck builder kind of in quotes, there's not a lot of deck building happening here, but it is a kind of an interesting concept. Now, as usual, I will not do a full overview of this game in this review. If you want to see how this game plays, I've done a playthrough on my channel. I'll link to it in the show notes below. Okay, so let's start by talking about the components for this game. So basically for this game, you've got mostly cards. You've got some resource tokens here and a player board. The player board's not super functional. It has your starting resources on it. It gives you your player color and like character, although there's no asymmetric powers or anything like that in this game, and just kind of a place to store your resources. The cardboard quality is decent. Same with all the tokens. They're good, thick tokens, good cardboard quality. The cards are decent. Kind of a medium quality. If you've ever bought a Rio Grande games or you played Dominion or anything, it's the same card size, same card stock, everything. So that'll be familiar to you. I like the theme of this game. So I like the retro sci-fi theme, but I mean, I really don't understand because Rio Grande Games is a fairly big company. They've got they got the Dominion, they got I think Race for the Galaxy. They've done some really good games. You'd think they'd be able to make the art better in their games, and I'm sorry, the graphic design it's okay. The art is it just looks like this game looks like it was made in the 90s, unfortunately. So that's unfortunate, but I do like the theme. I like they've got little quotes on some of their cards and stuff. There's with humor in it, and it's quite humorous, and I do like that. And like I said, the component quality is fine. I just wish they'd update their art style and their graphic design a bit, just to bring it more up to kind of what you're familiar with in the 2020s and not the early 2000s or late 90s. But that being said, I don't think it detracts from the gameplay any, because this is quite an interesting game. That's the rulebook is fine. It's just there's not a ton of rules to this. The rulebook's laid out quite well, and didn't really have any questions about the rules once. And really, I never looked into this once I started playing. Never really went back to the rulebooks. So that's really well done, well written. It's nothing really that I need to reference once you get going. Okay, so that's all I'll have to say about the components. The mechanics of this game. So the game is fairly simple. You've got this central deck of cards that you'll be playing every turn. You're just gonna flip one of these cards up and do what it says. And then 4 of those cards in the deck are work cards. So they're these green ones. They're work cards, and when you get a work card, everybody gets to do one action of the 5 on their board. That's the basic gist of the game. You'll be building buildings. Is kind of like the main thing you'll be doing. The buildings will give you people and some sort of abilities. Some of the abilities trigger based on the actions you do. And the main thing is you're going to be trying to you have to keep trying to keep up your stockpile of people, because how this game ends is either you get to the end of event, so you've got an event deck, and these events will be going into the deck throughout the game, 2 per round, basically 2 per round through the deck. And if you can get to event 13 drawn, then the game ends, and whoever has the most people wins. Or if somebody loses all their people and they're out, the game ends immediately, and whoever has the most people wins. So those are kind of the 2 ways the game ends, and that's how you win the game. We have never played this quite a bit, multiplayer, played it a bit solo. Never gotten to that 13th event. I think the closest we've gotten is maybe event 11. So it is quite difficult to get through the whole thing. But in the rules, it references that, if you're finding you're getting to the end all the time, there's like ways to increase the difficulty and stuff. So it must be possible. Just maybe we're not very good at it. So, but that's basically what you're doing in the game. There are There are a series of cards. I got 10 different cards that, based on the buildings you play, could get added to the deck to change things up. So you've got some ways to manipulate the deck. The Also there, there's just depending on the you also add two random they call them twists, which are kind of and you got a big deck of these twists here. At the beginning of the game, you're going to add two of these randomly two of these cards to the deck to start, and so there'll be some minor tweaks to how the game plays depending on which of those twists get out of the beginning, because they do different things. So I can kind of read a couple here. So like this one here, you lose half your money or food, whichever is more. Choose tide if rounded down. So every time this comes up, that would happen. Stuff like that. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, and it'll kind of change the way, give you a bit of variety on how the game is going to go every round. So that's all I'll talk about on the mechanics. So let's start by talking about the things I don't like. I already mentioned the art. It's not great. I do like the theme though, so it's kind of a mixed bag there. The one thing I can say is that I like the idea of this cooperative deck building that we're all manipulating this deck a bit. I do wish I could manipulate it more, because you need to get the only ways to manipulate this deck is if you get certain buildings built, because certain buildings will say when you build them, it'll say add, like the moon buggy to the deck, and whenever you add a card to the deck, it goes to the top of the deck, so it'll trigger right away. Yeah, so that's the only way you can add cards to the deck. There is no way to prune the cooperative deck. So deck builders, that's why I'm saying it's deck builder in quotes. You're just mostly adding cards, and it's not like you have a currency system or something where you get to buy cards from the market and add. No, it's just you have to happen to draw the certain buildings that let you add the cards to the deck. But it is kind of interesting because what some of the buildings you want to play, like maybe you like what the building does, but it adds a card to the deck that does bad things to you every round, so you got to kind of weigh that decision of whether you want to play that building or not. So sometimes, that's one negative. The other one is, sometimes it doesn't feel like you have much agency over the game. The games might sometimes go the similar way, like you really can't do much about the game kind of snowballs. The first few rounds are really easy, and then you start losing population really fast, and then eventually you might feel like you can't do anything about it, depending on what cards you got played out and stuff. So it can be a bit tough if you're not drawing the right building cards that can help you with the certain, because there are some building cards that are definitely better than others. Some you should play, some you shouldn't play. So yeah, that can be a bit of a negative for the game. Okay, so what do I like about this game? This game is just a hell of a lot of fun. I'll just say that for starters. Now, solo play is interesting, but I don't think I'd buy this purely for solo play. Although I think I would pull it out once in a while to play solo, because I still find it fun solo. But I think this game shines in multiplayer. It's fun watching the other players struggle. Maybe you're better at some aspect of the game, and you get a card that that allows you to put a card into the deck that, like, say you're good at there's one that there's a card that adds more robots to the game, and the robots are hellish. I haven't seen any good robots in here. Like, the robots kill the people generally, and pretty fast. So and the card that puts the robot into play, it's called the bunker. It gives you a lot of people. So if somebody's getting close to losing, you could play the bunker, add another robot in. You get a bunch of people there on the edge that, you're going to get a robot right away, could knock them. So there's little things like that you can do, especially since when the new card you're adding is going to come into effect. So you can really mess with other people, depending on how they're doing things. So I really like that. I think that's a really fun aspect of this game. I really do like it's fast and snappy because it's simultaneous play. You just flip a card, everybody does what the card said, and you go to the next. So it's really quick and snappy. So 5 players, it still plays, for under an hour. So that's great. Always looking for a game that actually has some meat on the bones, but plays under an hour with a higher player count. That's a nice kind of thing to have in your collection. and it's just so that everybody we played this with just has a heck of a lot of fun. Like, it is hard, cause you just gotta laugh. You're like, oh, no, I'm gonna lose another 10 people, or I'm gonna lose another 5 people, and you're just trying to hang on until that next work card comes out, because the 4 work cards in the deck that let you actually do an action, they're, they come up quite often in the early game when the deck is small, but as this deck grows, they come out less often, and then you're just kind of really trying to hang on until you can get that next building out, or do something to kind of increase your population and enough just to hang on a little bit longer than the guy beside you or anything like that. So that I just find that a lot of fun. Even though I can see that some people might not like this game because you are doing kind of like tableau building, but that tableau is going to be very flexible. Like, you get your tableau down, you might get a good engine going, but then it's going to get torn down, and then you might be able to quickly get something built back up. And then it's just kind of at the end, you're just kind of frantically trying to get stuff down. You might not even be thinking too hard about which buildings. You might be just looking at like population or on the buildings to get, keep your head above water kind of thing. So if you don't like that kind of if you're a kind of player that doesn't like having your stuff torn down, you might not like this. But this is not a take that kind of game, because these things are affecting every player at the same time in the same way. So it's really about who can find the little combos, within this system to keep their head above water better than other people. The other thing I really like about this game is the more you play this, the more the meta really starts to seep into the game. Because when we first started playing, my group first started playing this, we were kind of going a bit cutthroat. Somebody was playing a lot of bunkers, adding robots in there, and like laughing at us because he had lots of people and he was causing us to drop our people really fast, and that kind of stuff, where we're kind of playing it competitively against each other, and it is a competitive game. But after a bunch of plays, it's almost like the group together starts taking on the challenge of trying to get through that event deck as almost a source of pride, as they see combos and stuff and everything. So it kind of emerges over time. You start to cooperate a bit, and it also depends on which twist cards come out, because some twist cards might make the game easier, and some might make it harder. But I just found over time, even though we don't have an overly cooperative group, we don't tend to play cooperative games that much, the cooperation kind of self-emerged in this game, where we got to a point where we're just trying to keep the game going to see if we could get to that last challenge, but still competing against each other. So that was really interesting, a really neat thing about this game, that you can really get into that kind of the meta of the game. Okay, so what are my overall thoughts on the game? This is tough because, I do really wish Rio Grande would update their kind of graphic designs and art, but I mean, it's not terrible. I do like the theme a lot. There are some definite flaws in this game, but it's a card game. It's it is a kind of game where I could see a bunch of expansions coming, and I'm hope it gets popular enough that they will add expansions, because I'd like to see maybe ways to prune the deck a bit. I don't know how they would do that, but I'd like to see them do things where you could mess with that central deck a bit more, because I do wish you could, because it's very light ways to mess with it right now, and I wish you could mess with it a bit more. I forgot to mention, you also have these personal, they call them perk cards, that you can get into the deck too, and these ones only impact you. They don't impact all the other players, and they all help you. So that's the other little tweak that you can manipulate the deck with. But I wish there was kind of more ways to manipulate that deck and make it a bit more interesting. But all in all, I think this is a really fun game. My game group loves it. This has been our favorite game of the summer. We've been playing this one to death. This is gonna be a bit emotional, like maybe not as this one's gonna be a bit more group dependent for me, so kind of take this with a grain of salt. But I'm giving this game a 9. I think it's fantastic. I really love this game. But like I said, you might want to see how you like it yourself before you commit to this, because I could see this run being really group dependent or really dependent on your tastes. My group loves this game. Yeah, we played this a lot. We have a lot of fun with this. I haven't introduced it to my family yet, but I'm going to soon. I think my family will like this game too, because it's just quick and easy to play, and it is just fun. As usual, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.